Welcome back to Singapore Property Talk Law. If you want to get straight to the crucial details on important developments, well, you're in the right place.
That's right.
Before we jump in, please do give this deep dive a like and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss our future discussions.
Definitely helps us out.
Okay, so today we're looking into a really quite a troubling high court case.
Yeah.
It involves a tenant who molested his landlord's young daughter.
Yes, it's a very serious matter. We're essentially unpacking the details that came out during the court proceedings.
Exactly. It's sensitive, absolutely, but it feels important to understand the specifics that emerged,
It really is. And what this case immediately highlights is this profound breach of trust. Right in the place a child should feel safest, their own home.
Yeah.
So the details that came out involved the sentencing of Loh Wai Seng. He's a 36-year-old Malaysian PR.
Okay.
And he received 3.5 years jail and 7 strokes of the cane. That was on May 20th.
Right. 3.5 years, 7 strokes. And we understand he pleaded guilty.
Yes. Guilty to 1 charge of an indecent act with a child and 2 charges of aggravated outrage of modesty.
Aggravated. Okay.
And there was also a 4th charge, something about possessing obscene films, that was considered during the sentencing as well.
So the court clearly saw this as very serious, multiple charges.
Absolutely. And the context, the living situation, is quite striking too.
Tell us about that.
Well, the victim, she was just 12 or 13 at the time of the incidents. She lived in a 4-bedroom unit.
Okay.
With her parents, older brother, and then 2 other tenant couples, including Loh and his wife.
Wow, so quite a full house.
Very. And what's really significant here is that Loh had been their tenant since 2011.
Since 2011. That's a long time.
A very long time. So, a level of familiarity, maybe even comfort would have built up, which makes the violation even worse.
Definitely an exploitation of that long-term presence. So this wasn't just a one-off incident then?
No, not at all. The time frame we're looking at is between December 2018 and September 2019.
Okay, almost a year.
Yeah, and it happened on at least 4 separate occasions that were brought up.
4 times?
Yeah.
And how did he gain access?
The understanding is he would quietly enter her bedroom late at night after he thought everyone else was asleep.
Just walk into her room. That's chilling.
It is. And the details of the first incident are particularly upsetting. Apparently, the girl had woken up from a nightmare, was talking to herself a bit.
Right.
Loh was in the living room, heard her, went into her room, sat on her bed, started talking to her, and then he asked to touch her. And because of her age, her lack of understanding, she agreed.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Her vulnerability there.
Exactly, and it shows how calculated his actions likely were. He then touched her inappropriately under her clothes.
Right.
She moved away, and when he tried to touch her again, she actually kicked the bed frame.
So she reacted. She showed distress.
Yes, and crucially, afterwards, he told her to keep it a secret.
Which shows he knew it was wrong.
Absolutely, and the poor girl, she didn't tell her parents immediately. The understanding is she was scared of how they might react.
That fear, that confusion, it speaks volumes about what she must have been going through. Silence born out of fear.
So the question is, how did it eventually surface?
Yeah, how did it come out?
Well, it seems the distress built up for her, and finally, on September 24th, 2019, she confided in her teacher.
Her teacher, okay. Someone she trusted outside the home.
Exactly, and that was the catalyst. The school management got involved, her parents were informed.
And then the police.
Then a police report was filed, yes, on October 18th, 2019. It really shows how important those other trusted adults can be.
Definitely. And the impact on her. It must have been immense.
Profound. We learned she developed a fear of sleeping facing the door. Can you imagine?
No, that's awful.
She also felt guilty, apparently, for not speaking up sooner, which is just terrible that a victim would feel that way.
Yeah, blaming herself.
And she started avoiding physical affection, even from family, because it triggered memories of the abuse. Just deep psychological scars.
That's so much for a child to carry. Now, what about the defense? Do they offer any explanation?
Well, Loh's lawyer did state that his client was remorseful, regretful, and ashamed. That's the phrasing that came out.
Remorseful, okay.
They also mentioned he had developed an addiction to pornography and had watched those kinds of videos before the incidents happened.
So, trying to provide some context, I suppose.
Perhaps. But Justice Audrey Lim, during the sentencing, her remarks were very clear. She really emphasized the violation happening within the sanctity of the victim's own home.
That point about the home being violated seems key.
Absolutely. And she highlighted the exploitation of his position, as this long-term, presumably trusted tenant. The law really saw the severity in that context. The deputy public prosecutor's involvement also signals how seriously the state views these offenses.
It really brings it home. A place that should be safe turned into the scene of trauma by someone living right there.
Exactly. And while this is a deeply upsetting case, it does force us to think, doesn't it, about shared living spaces, which are common here in Singapore.
It does.
It really raises a question for you, listening. What does this incident tell us about potential vulnerabilities, maybe hidden ones, in these close living situations? And what responsibilities do we all have, perhaps landlords, tenants, even neighbors, to help foster safe environments, particularly for kids?
That's a heavy but important question. So the core takeaway here is pretty stark. Actions like these have severe legal consequences, obviously.
Yes.
But also, the lasting damage to victims is just devastating, especially when it happens inside their own home by someone familiar.
Someone who should have been trustworthy.
Right. So this deep dive, it really pushes you to think about trust, security, and just the complexities of living closely together here in Singapore. Thank you for tuning in to Singapore Property Talk Law.